Good day and welcome to another episode of Skytail Insights. Today, I'm extremely excited to introduce Robin Dimond, CEO and founder of Fifth and Core. Fifth and Core is a marketing and innovations firm. Robin, thank you so much for being here.
It is honestly my pleasure. I'm so honored to be here.
Now, Robin, I met you at a conference way back, and we keep up every now and again, and it seems to be every time we're at conferences, and we always tell each other we're going to make time to talk deeper about marketing and maybe even for Skytail. So selfishly, I'm extremely excited about today. But I don't know if you'd mind taking us from the top. Would you mind giving a quick intro to yourself, the firm, and I personally loved when I was researching, like I was like, what is Fifth and Core? Where did it come from? It's always fun hearing about the genesis of the names. Could you give us a brief overview before we dig in?
Sure. So I'm Robin Dimond. I'm the CEO and founder of Fifth and Core, which is a marketing and innovation company, like you said. We're based in Florida. All of our team members actually live in Florida, but our clients are all over the US and the world. We put a different approach on marketing. We really embrace emerging technologies like AI, augmented reality, virtual reality into your marketing strategy so that you and your brand can keep up. So we're out there talking about it. You'll actually see demos that I've done in the past that we talk about it. The name is really important to me. And so thank you for asking. Fifth represents the five senses. So we believe in full immersive experiences, and core is Latin for heart, or the root word of courage. And starting this company, I felt like I had to have courage to do it, because I knew what we were about to embark on is going to step into it. So I was actually in Nashville, Tennessee, sitting at Fifth and Broad, and I was smelling the amazing food and listening to the music and seeing everything. And I was like all your senses are embraced. And I just looked out at the sign and it said Fifth, and I was like, Fifth. And then I was like, I have to follow my heart. And right then, that's where the name came from. I Googled it, researched it. It wasn't taken, and I took it. So that's where our name comes from.
I love it. In Nashville, you were also one of your favorite cities, right?
It is 100% one of my favorite cities. So if anybody's doing anything there and they want to invite me, I'm down all the time.
I wish we would have done this a few months ago. We were at the Scale conference there in Nashville. So have to let you know next time.
100% I'm there. I'll bring you to some of my favorite restaurants.
Perfect. Well, it's great that you said that about why you came up with the name and the passion behind it. And, you talk about innovation in the future and what have you, and you bring it into marketing. I have to give you props here. Our head of marketing actually said that as she read through everything, enhanced customer experience is what she got out of your website and your story. So congratulations on your message actually coming through.
Thank you.
So in that, this is super interesting because you do things beyond marketing, or maybe I shouldn't say beyond marketing. You actually bring it all together very nicely. And that's one of the discussions I think and pain points and opportunities that I always hear from people, including our own firm. And maybe we can dig into that a little bit. One of our clients, during a speech, he said something along the lines of, your website is now social media channels for most of us, and in aesthetics certainly is who he was talking to. But does this point to, like, what is the evolution of marketing and all the tentacles? Like, how do you view it as a whole?
It's now all encompassing. And I started my back in the day. There's a lot of toxins in this space. But back in the day, I started in billboards and magazine, and then it was a website, and websites needed to be designed, and that was like kind of your calling card or your business card. And if you had a website, that's great. But then it was like, well, you have a phone number. Why wouldn't you have a website? And then it turned into social media, and social media was a like to have, and now it is a need to have. And people go to social first before they ever go to your website. And so people will spend so much money on this website, but I'm like, no one's coming unless you're paying all these Google ads. And you really need to be embracing social media. That's where people find authenticity. And it's not, everyone's like, well, it's just Gen Z or it's just millennials. No, it's not. I give the example of my parents are on Instagram. My mom's sending me a DM literally right now. She said she airplanes it to me. And Yeah, hi mom, thanks. She, it's a way for people to get information. It's a way for people to get to news. And people actually even find the news out this way. So if you don't have a social media, you're way far behind.
Okay, that's fascinating. So as you said, it did. It used to be the website, you're right. And now I don't go to people's websites anymore. I typically go to their social media. I find that I can get to know them a little bit better. There's more authenticity there, maybe more up-to-date information even. And you mentioned education from social media. So there was a gentleman at one of the big pharma firms who told me there's some research out there that doctors, they get most of their education, I think, number one, from Congress or conferences. And then I think number two is social media. And so can you dig in a little bit there? Like, where are people going for whether it's education or what are they looking for when they go to social media?
Well, we're going to kind of dive into the platforms now because I feel like we have to take that leap. And when they go to social media, what they're looking for is what's trending. So if I'm a doctor and I need to know about Korean skin coming over here, in this glass skin era, or I need to know about the, weight loss shot. I want to see where people are trending. We can start seeing so many medians pull in things. I might use Instagram as more of a place to see some beautiful pictures, but I'm going to watch YouTube to see a surgeon actually perform surgery. I want to know that I can trust them, that they're going to, now I have eyes into an operating room. I'm going to look at their LinkedIn. I'm going to see what kind of thought leader they are out there, who's following them on them. So when you look at social media, it has all these pockets and you're able to drive different educational levels. I listen to podcasts all the time. I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan. Well, Joe Rogan started talking about, cold plunging and saunas, and now I have a cold plunge and a sauna. And I did hormone therapy myself, and I was doing my research on Instagram, and then it would take me to YouTube, and then I would find doctors who were talking about the same thing because I wanted to know that they were trusted. And so it's a way of people being able to network with itty bits of information. And we're talking about 11 seconds. That's grabbing someone's attention, showing that you're a good leader and that they can follow you.
Okay, so 11 seconds there on Instagram, for example, and then hopefully they take you somewhere broader, YouTube or whatever it may be for the broader education. It's interesting you mentioned the cold plunge. I like Joe Rogan as well, by the way. Love that podcast. Well, that's how I learned about semaglutide. Whenever it was first coming out, one of the big things for our firm, we have to be able to project forward for our clients and just in general the aesthetic space, like where is this going and what is this going to mean. And so we needed to do a lot of research, and there were so many good articles that, but you're right, the first 10 seconds or few sentences had to catch my eye, like, okay, this person or entity knows what they're talking about.
100%. And so we talked about the cold plunge, and then you look, okay, semaglutide. I used it because I was getting older and I needed that health benefit. And then it led into who's talking about peptides and where are they going, and then it talks into this wellness because now I lost weight and my skin's saggy. Okay, well now I need a device company who's going to come in, and like it kind of ripple effects into a healthier way. And I think and that's where people are going to get their information.
Fascinating. And then when they get the information for social media, you mentioned websites, maybe people don't immediately go there unless you're doing a few things. How do those two talk to each other? Or maybe in general, like, it sounds like there's social media, there's a website, there are other platforms as well. How do they all talk together? How do you see the totality of it?
I love this question. So I try to explain it. I'm going to use another gym reference. If I went into the gym and I only lifted arms all day long, well, that's great. That's my social. But my website is maybe my abs or my core, and so you need all of this. My PR is my legs and how I need to lift in that. And so you look at this as an omni-channel or a full body, and they need to be able to, one, look alike, two, be talking about the same topics. Your blog should be leading to your social media posts. It can't just be a TikTok dance. And though those are great and they work for some, nobody wants to watch all of us dance. I want to know what provider is actually providing for me. I want to know the device is actually working. And so you look at all of it in totality, and you have to be able to drive people to those pinpoints.
Love that. So you mentioned something interesting. You said not everyone wants to see us dance, and you certainly do not want to see me dance. It's no good, no bueno. But you mentioned that, and I've always been curious because everyone has a different approach. Is there a right formula? Let's, let's maybe talk aesthetics or just in general, any subject you want to discuss or industry. Is there a right formula of this is what people or you should be posting on social media to really represent you and your company well?
Yeah, be authentic. I find so many people who want to like, "Oh, I wanna be Ben." Okay, well, that's great. There's already one out there. I need to be Robin, and I need to go in there and focus on who I am. And so for me, it's unapologetically authentic. I drop, "Hey, this is what's coming out. It's gonna have mistakes." Um, and I think that's something that practice and providers really need to be. They need to be consistent, 1, be consistent. Don't go, and again, let's give that gym reference. Don't go all in. Don't go join CrossFit if you've never even done yoga for 1 second. Like, back up the tiny train and say, "Okay, hey, I'm gonna be consistent. I'm gonna do this 2 to 3 times a week. I'm gonna be educational. I'm gonna be fun. I'm gonna be transparent." Don't use the same branded images that we've all seen on everybody's. I'm like, I can go to one in California, go to Texas and New York, and I'm like, they all use the same Shutterstock model. Use real people. I give my mom this example again is she's 70. Her skin is totally different than my skin. So I want to see a 70-year-old and her results are going to be totally different than my results at 40 versus someone on my team who's in their 20s, you know? And so be authentic of who you are. Show the hiccups, show the things that are going on, make sure you're consistent. And I think that's where a lot of people they want to be like famous. You wouldn't be able to handle if 100,000 people walked into your practice tomorrow. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have, 500 really great people who will build a pipeline in a business for me who will come back all the time than have 100,000 people who will never be there.
That's great. Yeah. So be authentic. And maybe that touches a little bit of what I mentioned as to why even I accidentally, not on purpose, now go to social media instead of a website to get to learn a company because I feel like I get to know those people. And I think you said something really interesting. It's also about targeting your true client. You can't handle, I forget what number you used. You'd rather have 500. We talk about that all the time here too. We call it the red velvet rope of like make
Mhm.
sure that you're really clear on who it is that you want to work with, and not only that you want to work with but that you can impact the most, and allow that to be the ideal person that comes in. So instead of for the masses, for example. So I'm glad you said that. And then it brings something to mind, and I'm curious how you see this from a kind of patient acquisition perspective and any tips you may have. We have a client, and he said the most incredible thing, and it even changed the way that I looked at marketing within our firm. He's an oral surgeon, and he said, "Look, listen, Ben, I'm actually a very good oral surgeon, but you wouldn't know that. Even you know me, and you wouldn't know that I'm good or not, and you could watch me, and you still wouldn't know if I'm good or not." So he said, "We're not a healthcare organization." He has multiple practices. He said, "At the end of the day, we're a marketing company. Someone has to walk through that door, and then it's on me to close them." I'm curious how you see that comment, and some of the ways that maybe you would help someone like this person, because I thought it was so fascinating that instead of saying we're a healthcare organization, and clearly they are, but really what he was saying is we're a marketing firm. We have to get people through the door.
I would run and hug him. I don't know who it is, but I would, because here's the thing, that's who we all are. And the first thing you hear about people, and especially right now, people are like, we're going to cut budget. Okay, well, we're going to cut marketing. Well, that is what you are. You are a marketing firm. You're out there. That is the last thing you should be cutting. You should be figuring out how other savings can be happening because marketing is your only voice. When patients are slow or to come in right now, you need to be out there talking more. You need to be in front of more people. You're right. No one knows who you are. And so we'll see practices be like, oh, I want to cut back because we're not getting as many people in. And you're like, no, that's when you should double down. And for myself too, I'll take every podcast when business is slower. I'll go on there and post. I'll go LinkedIn live. I'll do whatever it needs to be. I'll go into speak because I know getting out there brings more awareness about who we are. And so I would say, yes, go into it. You go into everything as marketing. Someone said you're always a sales company too. You're always selling. And I was like, no, that's weird. I hate sales. I'm not a seller. Yes, I am. That's literally what we're doing. We're talking whether it's in a practice, we're talking whether it's in oral surgery, we're talking about automotive. You are always selling.
Yeah, you're right. It's funny. You and I have the same viewpoint on that. I used to think like, hey, look, if we're good at what we do, of course Robin's going to call us. But, going back to that example of my client, no one does know that we're good at what we do. We actually have to first bring people in the door. And as you said, I had a tough time with that because of the sales component. It's like, I'm not salesy. But you're right. If you believe in what you're doing, I think it's a good thing to do. So we've talked about a couple of channels now. There's social media, there's the website. What other channels or means of communication should we be thinking about here?
I've been telling everyone PR. And at first PR actually scared me. So I just want to like say that for everybody who's like, oh, I don't even know how to do that. It's fine. I'm gonna drop free tips for everyone who's listening to this because I feel like they should know. There's Haro, there's Quoted, and there's Postbee. These are free outlets for journalists to ask stories. So those are Haro, help a reporter out, Quoted, and Postbee. And people can go in there and you can actually get the email and they'll ask for stories. What do you think about the semaglutide? What do you think about like it asks every day, and it's different industries, and so being able to get PR also can be giving back. So if your practice, I have no children that I know of, and so I always say like I did a business shower. And, there's anniversary showers. There's something to celebrate at least once a year, and it gets your name out there. We actually hosted an event, and I don't know if it was a slow day in the news or what happened, but 83 news outlets picked us up.
Wow.
83, and it was Bloomberg, it's Yahoo, and I was like, "I'm sorry, what just happened?" Like, I was so excited as they just kept rolling in, and I was like, "I would have never put that out there," and it was just an event that was being held in Davie, Florida. No one even knew about it, and they didn't even know about me. So PR is a really important leg. The other one is events, and in a world after COVID, marketing and events is everybody wants to do something. And so I say this, it's like, hey, yeah, I want to know about your company. I want to see your place. I want to be able to bring my friend. I don't want to be pressed into sales. So going and seeing your location or learning about, an injectable or learning about a laser and watching the treatment is now going to make me come over. But I also can bring people. So events is really important. I think it's something that we forgot about back in the day. That was the real experience. People come in, they smell, they see your place, they might be able to talk to you. And so, like, all their senses are engaged there.
Love that. So on the events piece, you're so right. I think of a few people who have organizations who, I mean, I watch them inject on their stories on Instagram or what have you, and I feel like I'm there. Or I feel like if I were to walk in as a patient, I would already know what their practice looks like. I would know how they treat patients. I would know how they talk to them. I would already be prepared for that. It's like you've already prepared me for what I'm about to do. I think that's a great point, and I never thought of it, but the ones who do it, I definitely feel closer to already, even if I never step foot in there. On PR, I'd love to double click on that a little bit.
Okay.
Could you define that a little bit? Like if people, I mean, I think PR, public relations, it's is that how do I make Robin sound great, or what exactly goes into PR? How do you do it? You mentioned, and thank you, by the way, some of the sources, and I also want to ask you what that event was that got picked up. I'm curious.
So let's start with the event. The event was called the Great Connect. I go to so many events and everyone's like, oh, you have 28,000 LinkedIn connections. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not popular on Instagram, but LinkedIn is my thing. And so they were like, we go to these networking events and we don't really walk away with business. And so we called it the Great Connect, like the Great Gatsby. We did all different experiential stations and we really forced people to eat. So we actually had food and forced people to come into the middle, eat, and make true authentic business connections. And everyone's like, well, what did you get out of it? Nothing. I just enhanced the area that I lived in South Florida. And I was able to help those business owners and people still talk about it. And I think that was the thing that everyone said, like, what are you doing? Like you're giving back. We gave it back to veterans. We pulled in our community and said, no, you're going to do business, exchange business cards, get to know people. And when it got picked up, I was like, what is happening right now? My biggest story that's ever gotten picked up was 17 news outlets, and then this one came in at 83, and I just remember driving, just watching the stories come in. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened." So it was a great event. 300 people came, so it was
Wow.
awesome. Um, for PR, you have to think of PR differently. So there's your press releases that are done on wire services. There's these journalist articles that I just actually shared with you, those key ones. There's having a boilerplate, which you should. It's an elevator pitch. What do you do? So like that's for me. It's who is fifth in court. It's 30 seconds, a little bloop, and that's your elevator pitch, and that's your boilerplate. But then it's about community and engagement and really like the community and pulling those in. There's a journalist that's here, and I'm going to give him a shout out. His name's Baron McQueen. I met him. I invited him to a party, one of my events. Ever since then, not only is he a dear friend of mine, but he covers all my other events that we do. And so it's really about relations and building that. But you can always give back. So we talked about you have someone come into your practice. You want a demo, give back for Mother's Day, nominate a mom. So you get a social pull, you get a PR pull, and then you get to say something that's for your event. Tie everything together.
That's fantastic. By the way, I love that the event that got picked up was actually for good and you were enhancing your community. And that's actually a couple points there. One, that's one of the things that I love about you and the way that you approach life and business. Like, I think you're on 5 school boards. So you certainly give back to the community. And then an event like this is just another example where you're trying to enhance other business owners or businesses in general. So I love that that's the one that got picked up because I think that's Robin, or that's at least part of who you are. So congratulations on that. And I think the other part, the second point is, people want to do business with people they like and people who are good human beings. So, with the question, what did you get out of it? I think, maybe the question is more so like, and now I want to work with Robin and why is that? Well, because this is who she is, and these are the values, and this is the name Fifth and Corn where it came from. So I think that's kind of neat that that's the one that got picked up.
Thanks. And it is honestly my favorite event. And I wish you could have been there because, so fifth, obviously, with the five senses, food is a huge love language. And so everyone's like, if you go to an event with Robin, she feeds you. I'm Polish. I feed people. Like that's my thing. And so making sure we were giving back to the community too is like, hey, you're going to bring these things. We told people what to expect. We said, bring your business cards, bring a gift for giving back to veterans, bring this. And people came and they came out in droves to support it. And that was the part that's like, okay, great. The community got stronger and we all walked away from a networking event that was changing.
100%. Yeah. And if I recall, you're a foodie and you've been
I
involved in
am.
that industry as well. So a lot of experience there. So that's fantastic. So I can see it coming together. The PR, the events, the website, the social media, and you've done such a good job of explaining where, each of us could go from our business perspective to meet the end user and how to use all of that, kind of the totality of it, as we were talking earlier. Is there anything else you want to mention on that? If not, I'd love to also ask, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the website was it. And if I asked the question 10, 15 years ago of, okay, what's coming next, Robin, would you have said social media? So now here we are. And the other question that I want to ask, unless you want to add more to the current state, would be, what do you think is next? Like what's happening with marketing 5 years down the road that you're keeping an eye on if we want to stay ahead of the game?
I love, love, love this question. And here's the reason why. If you would have asked me, about 15 years ago, where was the world going? And like, I'm learning design and we're doing all of the things. And I was like, oh, you have to be the best graphic designer to be able to like make billboards and make them pop. And you have to have these sayings. And I just remember working for an eye surgeon and like writing one. I was like so proud of like this billboard. And I drove by and took pictures for my mom. And I remember like websites started going and I was at an agency and I said, hey, I think the social media thing is going to be a thing. And they're like, "Oh, okay, Robin, just keep doing your job." And I was like, "No, no, no, like, I'm serious. I think companies are gonna need this. I think they're gonna hire." They're like, "No one's ever gonna hire someone to do social media." And I was like, "No, I actually like I think it's a thing." So I had a good boss at the time. They said, if you think it's a thing, then go build a thing. And he let me go out there and he let me start doing research and doing Facebook. And then all of a sudden it started like snowballing and companies started hiring us and bringing in. He's like, oh, this is a thing. So when you ask us now and jump to like where we are, I would have to definitely say it's not going to be social media. It's going to be immersive experiences. And that is it's all the things now. It people After COVID, people want to get back out. They want to experience life, but they want it customized to themselves. There's actually a store and they do a great job. And I really wish I can remember who does it, but they have two different color baskets. So when you're shopping, red means that you don't want to talk to anybody, and black means you want help. Please, on there's certain days that I'd be picking up that black one and being like, "Yeah, I wanna talk to you and I wanna know all about the skincare," and then there's red. Same with social. I wanna watch you when I wanna watch you. I wanna scroll, like, when I'm sitting in the bathroom, and I wanna hear about your brand. It's the same way in the ripple effect, and it's going to more experience. So, I feel like we're gonna talk about this, but the innovation part of our business is the augmented reality and the artificial intelligence, and so I'll touch on AI for really quickly, which is artificial intelligence. Everyone is leveraging that now. You hear about it on the news, you look on Instagram, AI, AI, AI. It's everywhere. ChatGPT took the world by storm. People are like, now I can write blogs better than I ever have. And I'm like, well, okay, great. Leverage it, but don't just use it as its own thing. I think we're seeing a world of technology and we call it MarTech. So now it's marketing and technology, and that's creating innovation. And we're really seeing augmented reality. And people are like, I've never used augmented reality. And I'm like, "So you've never used a filter on Instagram?" And, you'll, like, watch a woman, like, smile because she's like, "Yeah, I filtered that." You used augmented reality.
Great
And
point.
and I think that's where people it's not as scary as you think. That's really where the world is moving. So whether they're using it for social, whether they're using it for in store or in practice experiences, augmented reality is like the overlay of digital information on the real world. So you can see images, sounds. I mean, we all did Pokemon Go. We all remember that. You still saw the real world. You just saw people running around. I'm not talking about virtual reality where you're wearing a really heavy headset and your face is like falling forward and you're like, this is not practical. It's not. Augmented reality can be done with a headset like this
Oh, look at that.
right
Is that
here.
what it is?
And
Okay.
that's one of the different sets. But the augmented reality that we're leveraging now is a QR code.
The
So you
QR
wanna
code.
talk about training your practice and you wanna make sure everybody knows the standards of your practice. You could put a QR code on the back of, a cabinet and say what all the product descriptions are, and you can watch your team check in. So now everyone is watching that. You know that the providers are coming in, the esthetician is checking that off. A QR code can go on the side of a device so that they know how to use the laser and they can see all the aspects of the laser. They know how to have the settings because I don't know if you've ever done a laser. Absolutely trying to understand all the settings is challenging. So it can be training materials. It can go on the back of your door. So when your patient's numbing, it can be telling them about all the other things that they have to offer. It's a quiet salesman. We did one, and if anybody wants to reach out, I can absolutely send it to you guys. We did one for oysters. So this restaurant was having a hard time because the oysters were all sitting in there, and each one is a blue point or it's something from everywhere. And so you literally scan this ice cube that has a QR code in it, and it tells you where everything is just by using your phone. And you can see a QR code sitting on mine, and it's
Wow.
just by using it. Well, guess what? Now everyone's posting it on social. People are talking about it. It's interactive at the table. You've distracted your children. And now you're like, and what wine do I want to pair? So we started working with wineries that paired with each of the oysters. So it was an upsell without the server having to know the oysters, without them having to do anything. And the chef literally sets the ice cube down and it talks about each one. And so when you talk about social, you talk about marketing, marketing is encompassing now. It's taking people out of their stressful days and it's creating these experiences that they can work with. And that's where I see the world going.
That is fascinating. I love the example you used with oysters because, yeah, when I ordered them at a restaurant, they tell me where they're from, and I forget 2 seconds after the waiter leaves, unfortunately, or waitress. And I mean, this would be unbelievably exciting. And then, yeah, on the wine piece, you don't need to get the som over to provide information; it's already built in for you. So that's fascinating. I mean, as you were talking, I was even thinking like in our conference rooms, sometimes people ask us, how do you book the conference room? I mean, you could put a QR code right outside a conference room to do it. So my mind is going all sorts of places. I've never heard of that. So is that under the innovation side of the company? Because I'm glad you called that out, because I was going to ask about that and whether that had to do more with this futuristic discussion we're having, or what
It
what
it
encompasses that.
It does, because people are saying, "How are we gonna market?" So there's a hotel that we're working with, I can't disclose the name, but they needed marketing. They have social media, but they need to get people in. They spend a lot of money redoing it. And so what we did is interactive experiences throughout the whole hotel. So we kind of stole the idea of Pokemon Go, used it so you can actually walk over to their restaurant, you can actually see all the things that are happening. You know where the meat's coming from, it's a local farm. You know where the bread is coming from, a local bakery. You walk over to the artwork, and we're using all local artists to do the artwork. So it actually calls out their name, what they were thinking. And so everyone is walking around the hotel getting these experiences. Well, it's training their staff. They don't have to worry about hiring extra people to explain things. And people are walking and experiencing it, but then they're capturing it and putting it on social. So when I talk about that immersive experience, and that's where we're moving towards in marketing, it is going to be everything touching everything.
That's fascinating. As you were talking, I was thinking of what we were talking about earlier. It used to be a website, but social media, it's more personal. You use the word authentic. So you actually get to know the company and people. And now this is taking it to the next level, isn't it? The immersive experience. I mean, it's fascinating what you said about, now I know where the meat's coming from at the restaurant and what's happening. I mean, that's an entire other level that takes it beyond, kind of like the website to social. Now it's just getting closer to, in this case, the hotel that you're now a part of for a number of days or what have you as you're staying. I think that's fantastic. And then augmented reality. Can we tell you, you showed me the cool goggles. Thank you. Can we talk about that a little bit? How do you envision using that? And I don't know, you can pick any industry you want, maybe as an example.
So for the goggles, I'm gonna pick probably medical right now, just because we've have so many experiences. If you've seen me at a trade show, you may have put a headset on. And when you put the headset on, we actually can do training. So we're able to blow up a skull, and you can actually see things. We actually have veins and nerves, and we can talk about inclusions. Yeah, you can go take a cadaver course, but we all know cadaver courses are ridiculously expensive. So being able to train your staff, be able to look at things differently, is where we're seeing augmented reality. Where we're seeing it, and now I'm gonna take it into electrical company, so I wanna go
All
that
right.
way.
Healthcare to, like, here we go.
We're seeing a generation of more blue collar workers kind of die off in tradesmen. And so we can put a headset on a plumber or an electrician as they go into something. We can have a different generation sitting at home, and they're able to remote in and be able to see, and we can tell them what tools to line up. We can tell them exactly how to do it. And so now, one, it's a safety measure, because someone's not getting, 200 volts run through them. We're able to use it as a training one to say, hey, where's your tools? We're able to troubleshoot a lot faster, and we actually can track everyone. We're also doing it with safety training. So for military, a lot of their families leave, and we're able to put a headset on, and we can say, okay, here in the home is where you should go. Here's where you go. And it's just as easy. You can see right through these. Like, you can actually see my red nails through them.
Oh, yeah.
They're as light as a pair of like blue light glasses that you would use. And so we're using it as to train the next generation. Where the phones are catching up is, Apple, when they came out with this, they have the new lidar. And so that's what we needed for the headset. And so now we're able to capture content with our phones that can be done in those headsets. And we can actually put things on. So it's augmented reality is blending a lot of worlds really quickly.
Fascinating. So training is one. Can it be used on any of these other marketing platforms? Whether it's social media, PR, events. Is it going to embed within those as well?
Yeah, so for social, we're talking about the filters, we're talking about the training. We're seeing a lot of augmented reality ads being used for Meta, for Google right now, where there's virtual try-ons. We're seeing do in PR right now, and really creating an experience that captures the audience. So people are putting out that QR code, sending it out to a journalist, and we're actually seeing enhanced press. We're seeing interactive campaigns. So you're throwing a party. There's, one down here in Miami that's happening. You're throwing a party, you can actually do an experience and a virtual tour of the event. And that's what we're seeing. So you talk about your events if you can't be there. We actually worked with an artist, a musician, creating a virtual, because people couldn't get out of the house. So creating a virtual concert. And so being able to sit in your own home and imagine you can go to Taylor Swift and you're like literally can see her, but you don't have to deal with all the people in the audience, and you can have pop-up experiences throughout it. And that can be leveraged on social for press. It can be leveraged in an event. We're doing one in Chicago right now that you walk around the building and you do that whole experience. And so people can actually capture it during the event.
Wow. Okay, my head's turning again. We're based out of Dallas, right? But some of our team members are remote. And one of the things that we do here is when the markets close on Friday, we have a team happy hour, a firm happy hour, I should say. Now, one of the challenges is, so we do it through Zoom right now, but it's not very fun. It's not the same. But that way, our remote team can come in and we can all say hello to each other. How's the week been? So, I wonder if I might have to call you after this if there's something more fun. Like we've talked about events where, maybe we do a cheese and wine tasting virtually together or something, but that's still a step removed, maybe three steps removed from what you're talking about. So, I mean, I can just imagine so many uses and so many that I can't even think of.
One that was really cool that we did, and, it's customized packages for everyone, so no one just run at me. This was easy because everyone was local, but, we actually did a kit, and so it was cooking virtually. And so people came and picked up their kit, and everyone had a kit, and then we went live with it. So it was just a live social, but it was this whole virtual experience, and so pulling all these things together. Um, there's cocktail making that's virtual. And so if you know me, I'll say, hey, let's do a meeting. Let's do coffee or cocktails. I don't care what time either one is. So if you want to do a cocktail in the morning, I'm down. If you want to do coffee at night, down. But hey, that could be a really good calling card. And you can actually send something to someone with a QR code in the middle of it. And then they can get this whole experience so that they're experiencing it that and you're being able to share that across these. So yeah, there's a lot of ideas.
Oh, I can't even imagine. I'm gonna have to call you after this.
That's
So
that.
yeah, so I mean everyone heard it here, right? I mean 10, 15 years ago you called it website to social media. It's going to be a thing. Now you're saying social media to immersive experience. It's going to be a thing and it's going to embed itself in all of these channels. Is there anything else that we're missing or that you want to talk about on the innovative side?
I'd love to say that I wasn't the first to call it. I'm gonna go with the very cute, Pixar movie called WALL-E, who did it, and we're all just kind of catching up. So these things are people want that experience, and I think one thing I do wanna say is embrace it. Everyone's like, "Well, I don't know what AI is gonna be or synthetic video," and there's some really cool we haven't even touched on synthetic video, but I can take a picture of you and I can use AI and I can turn it into a real person. And so now you're talking about legacies. And we talk about families and wills and passing those down. We talk about them in training. Like if you start a practice and you want to be that legacy that people can actually hear, there's a lot of different things that are coming. And so be okay to try things. If you have questions, please reach out. But look at it, everything as more of an immersive experience. Whatever can bring everything together is where marketing is going.
It's interesting you say that. I think there are already some museums that are starting to work on these kind of things where you get to talk to these people. And I think they're going with World War II vets as one. Actually, there was an article, I think this weekend in the Wall Street Journal, of a gentleman who missed his mother and didn't get to say goodbye. And I think a company basically recreated her and he had a conversation with her. It was just, I mean, I was in awe of how much it helped them. So yeah, exactly what you're saying.
And people might talk about it, "Hey, that's really creepy." And yes, I wanna say like, "Hey, it can be," but it also can be very innocent too. It could be, "Hey, that's the closure that you finally needed," or it's that, people do weird things, they keep a rock and that reminds them of a family member, like to hear my mom, to hear my grandma's voice again, that would mean a lot to me. And so to see her picture and be like, "Hey, that's it." You're talking about a legacy and a continuation. And so there's that it's moving into the world. And I think there's some sentimental value of it along with just current training. So when we talk about it, yes, I think I'm calling it. If I'm totally wrong, I'm sorry, and I won't ever show up on this podcast again. But I think that's really where we're headed.
No, I mean, I think you're right, and people are already doing it as we're talking about now. And you mentioned the word creepy, but then you mentioned pictures. I bet you, however many years ago, people thought that was creepy. Wait, you're keeping a picture of someone that's, been underground 200 years now, or however many years now. It's the same concept, isn't it? Is the memories that you're cherishing. So yeah, completely agree. Is there anything else around any of this subject, Robin, that you want to touch on? I think you've given us so much to think about.
I feel like we've kind of gone around all of it. I think it's great. I'm sure something I'll be like, man, I should have told him, but there's always another show.
Yes, exactly. I mean, yeah, and you do so many things and do them all well. I mean, we've heard nothing but good things about you and the company. So, congratulations. And if I wanted to get a hold of you, how can someone reach out?
Sure. So you can go to our website, but like I said earlier, I'm on LinkedIn. So it's Robin, Robin, Dimond, Dimond. I'm on LinkedIn all the time. I'm posting there. That's a really great way to follow up. I offer coffee or cocktails so we can jump on a call. We'll schedule something. I always bring a team member. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without having the most incredible. I am blessed beyond words for the team that I have. And so they always join. And I would say that's a great way to get a hold of me.
Thank you, Robin. Really appreciate your coming on and agree with you on the team. I've had the pleasure to meet some of them, and they're all just amazing humans as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of SkyTail Insights. We hope you enjoyed the show, and please subscribe.